A young mother boards a crowded bus with her nursing infant, hoping to reach her destination on time. Little did she know that her short journey would soon take an unpredictable turn. Before we continue, please take some time to subscribe to Dailydose, like, and share this video with your friends. It was a sunny summer afternoon when Amanda was returning home from a quick supermarket run. Since she did not have a car, using public transport was her only option for her commute. She walked to the nearest stop to take a bus home. It was going to be a tedious ride. She had to carry grocery bags in one hand while holding her 5-month-old baby, Chris, in the other arm. Standing under the scorching sun, Amanda waited for the bus to arrive at the stop. She boarded it while trying not to lose her balance. She held Chris tightly against her chest while the grocery bags hung from her fingers. After putting her bags on the floor, Amanda quickly sat in the nearest empty seat. However, Chris started wailing as soon as she sat, grabbing everyone's attention, including the bus driver. "Are you hungry, Chris?" Amanda asked her son. "I know you must be tired after all the grocery shopping." "I'll feed you, my baby." Then the loving mother fed her baby on the bus, draping a breastfeeding cover over herself. She lifted the cloth with her fingers to make space for air circulation, but people around her weren't comfortable with it. "Hey you," the bus driver grumbled while looking at her. She was sitting in the seat diagonally behind him, holding her baby in her arms. "What do you think you're doing?" Amanda looked at the gray-haired bus driver with eyes wide open as her eyebrows furrowed. "Don't you see I'm feeding my baby?" "He was hungry," she replied sternly. "What else was I supposed to do?" "You're an attention seeker," the bus driver snarled. "I know what women like you want. You're just here to raise some eyebrows and get some fake empathy from those around you, probably because your husband doesn't care about you. I'm sure he doesn't even want to be with you. How dare you talk to me like that?" Amanda was shocked. She wanted to yell at the man but feared scaring her little one. She didn't want him to feel uncomfortable or sense that something was wrong. Amanda's argument with the bus driver had grabbed everyone's attention. She could feel the disapproving stares from people who believed the bus driver did the right thing by mocking her. They weren't pleased to watch a woman publicly breastfeed her hungry infant. Lowering her gaze, Amanda ignored the bus driver's remarks and pretended not to feel uncomfortable with people's eyes locked on her. She wanted the bus to reach the stop near her house as soon as possible. The bus soon stopped at the next station, where Amanda saw a familiar face enter from the door at the back. A smile spread on her face as her heart felt at peace knowing her husband, Mark, was now on the same bus with her. Mark had grabbed everyone's attention on the bus because of his muscular build. He was a former professional boxer who usually stood out in public places because of his looks. At this point, Mark did not know that his wife and baby were sitting on the same bus. Not until the bus driver started mocking Amanda again for breastfeeding her little one in public. "Don't you feel satisfied with all the attention the men on this bus have given you?" he grumbled as his gaze shifted from the red traffic light to Amanda's breastfeeding cover. "You need to stop this, woman. I won't allow this on my bus. Why don't you mind your business and stop judging breastfeeding mothers?" Amanda replied confidently because she knew her husband was there to support her. Her voice caught Mark's attention, and he realized the bus driver was misbehaving with his wife. He stood up with clenched fists and walked towards Amanda, trying his best not to lose his temper. "What's the matter, honey?" Mark asked, his voice reeking with concern. "Nothing," she replied while looking at Chris. "It's just, I heard this man misbehave with you." "What did he say? Tell me?" Mark started to lose his temper. "I was just telling her not to breastfeed in public," the bus driver grumbled. "Who are you anyway?" "I am her husband, and you have no right to tell my wife what to do," Mark yelled at the bus driver, grabbing him by his collar. At that point, Mark looked at his face, reminding him of his past. The gray-haired bus driver also froze when his eyes met Mark's hazel eyes. "Mark, is that you?" the bus driver asked with his eyes wide open as he tried to loosen Mark's grip on his collar. Mark immediately left the bus driver's collar as he realized who the older man was. He looked at his wife and shook his head. "Let's get off at the next stop," he told her. "Mark," the bus driver asked again, "is that you, my son?" "What?" Amanda gasped as her gaze shifted from the gray-haired man to her husband. "Yes, it's me, George," Mark replied. "I can't believe this," the bus driver, George, replied as he carefully steered his vehicle through the busy roads. "Is that my grandson?" "Yes, that's Chris," Mark replied. "But I won't let you come near him." George looked at his son and lowered his gaze before apologizing for everything that happened on the bus earlier. "I'm sorry for mocking your wife," he said. "I don't have anything but apologies for you, my son. I'm sorry for everything that happened between us. In the past," George added. "Stop it, George," Mark said. "I won't let you ruin my life again." Seeing George, his biological father, on the bus reminded him of what had happened 2 decades ago. Chasing a new life, George left his wife when Mark was a teenager and never looked back. He did not care how his wife would raise their only child alone. "I apologize for what happened years ago, Mark," George said. "I regret what I did. I even tried locating your mother but couldn't find her." Once all the passengers got off the bus, George requested Mark to allow him back into his life. "I want to be there for my grandson. Please allow me to be a loving grandfather to him," the older man begged his son. Watching George's eyes well up with tears, Amanda held her husband's hand and told him to accept George's apology. Chris would have at least one grandparent by his side while growing up, she said. What started as an uncomfortable bus ride soon became a 2-hour-long conversation. After pouring their hearts out, there was finally a moment of some peace between the two men. For the first time in years, Mark and George hugged each other. This eventually began a new phase in their lives where they appreciated and enjoyed each other's presence.